Hi. For those of you who I haven't met before, my name's Carrie Rankin. I'm the CEO for Bertram Nursery Group. Wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about what's been going on at Bertram for the last 2 months during the lockdown and closure, and then to talk a little bit about our reopening plans. Before I move into that, I'd like to take a couple of minutes to talk about two very important things. That's mental health being the first. As we move back into operation and we invite our employees to come back to work, it's really important that we take a couple of minutes out of our day as we meet our colleagues and just ask them the very simple question, how are you? It may well be for that individual over the last couple of months they've struggled with the social isolation, and perhaps they've had some family pressures that have really been difficult to manage on their own. But whatever the case, just recognise that it's important that we all take that time to ask the question to check that everybody's okay. Secondly, it's to thank our teams across England and Scotland, many of whom have been continuing to operate our nurseries during COVID-19 lockdown, providing essential care for key workers of frontline jobs. We've got 5 sites that are open, 2 in Scotland and 3 in England. For those of you who remained working through that period, thank you very, very much on behalf of Bertram, on behalf of all of our parents and carers out there. Who'd have thought 10 weeks ago we would have been focusing on how we closed down our business for an unknown period? It was a really uncomfortable period, not knowing what that looked like, not knowing the protocols that we were expected to follow, trying to give ourselves the opportunity on a day-by-day basis to watch the PM briefings to make sure that whatever we delivered out to our staff and our parents in terms of the communication was the most current and the most relevant. We apologise if for any reason there was some frustration around us getting information out to you in a timely fashion. We were trying our very level best to make sure that we took the most up-to-date information. And as we all experienced, it was changing on a day-by-day basis. We got some things wrong, but we got many things right. And I think that's a credit to all of our management teams in the nurseries, our nursery managers, our deputies, our seniors, and all of our practitioners that helped to close down the nursery safely, see the children out of the doors, back to their families safely. It was quite an emotional time for many people as they said goodbye to children they weren't sure if they would see again, certainly those who were going off to preschool. So again, thank you very much to all for that diligent work that you did during the process of close down. So over the last couple of months, we've been working very, very closely. Personally, I've been working with a number of our sector colleagues, talking with the DFE, talking with each other to understand best practice, to think about what we could do to make sure that when we were ready to open up again, we could do that. We could do it in a way where we had control, we could give a level of confidence to our parents, and we could do it in a manner that would ensure safety of our teams and safety of the children and parents that access the nurseries. We created, as a group, some standard operating procedures, and Bertram Nursery Group have taken that as a template for our safer operating procedures. Please do look at our website, you'll see a copy of those operating procedures. The senior leadership team as well has been absolutely instrumental in the background at pulling together updates on policies and procedures, creating safe working practices, risk assessments, guidance on how to amend and change the environments to best fit the needs of the children who are going to be returning whenever our doors were to open. So a huge thanks from me and everybody else for the hard work that the senior leadership team have put in, accompanied by other people within the business. Our finance team has continued to work to update some of our systems within finance, update some of the accounts, and just generally get on top of things ready for being open again. There are a number of other key projects that we've been focused on, one of those being the change from Parenta system to a new system called Connect. That system will be something that we'll launch out through the course of 2020. The other thing I think is really important to talk about is that our managers have been back in the business now, in England specifically, for around about 2 weeks. They've been focused very much on training their staff teams, as I said, moving the environments around to make sure that those environments are suitable and ready to take on smaller cohorts of children. We're calling those safer play groups. Unfortunately, we've had to reduce our operational capacity across the majority of our settings by approximately 50%. Now, that isn't national guidance, that's something that we've chosen to do. And then on a regular basis, we will review and find out whether or not the practices that we've put in place are working, whether we can increase the capacity or whether we need to decrease the capacity. We've implemented some very stringent and very detailed cleaning and hygiene routines. And we have procured some PPE, masks that are for our staff teams on a discretionary basis. They're not being asked to wear them, but we've supplied them should they want to wear them. We've also bought some masks that are FFP2 rated. Should we come across a suspected case of COVID-19, we have an isolation space and the appropriate PPE for our staff teams to wear whilst caring for the individual. We've implemented something called Explain, Exhibit and Evidence. Really important for us that whenever we have teams that come back and train with us, and we're asking them to go out and deliver nursery care in the business, that we're not just giving them procedures without checking that they're thoroughly understood and the reasons behind those procedures being put together. So the explain section is about us walking in and saying, please can you explain that procedure? Why are you doing what we're asking you to do? Can you give us some understanding, please, about why that particular procedure has been put in place? Exhibit is for us to simply say, can we watch you do it? Can we see you put that into action? And evidence is where we can ask them to make sure that they can show us where they may have had to sign off to say that that's been completed, and that might be around hygiene and cleaning checks, could be all manner of things. But it's really our way of making sure that we can get some semblance of control within the business to make sure that our teams are fully aware of what they're doing and why they're doing it, and that we've got the evidence to back it up. As we move into our opening phase, and it's important to note here that England, we are opening week commencing the 1st of June. We won't be opening our sites until we are absolutely ready to do so. We're training our teams, making sure that our priority is given to the teams being ready to do this. Many of whom might be quite anxious about what it means for them to come back and deliver childcare again in a very different environment. The other thing we're doing is we're making sure that each of our nurseries goes through a thorough risk assessment. So we've created an overarching risk assessment that pulls together numerous aspects of checking through property, people and operations. But each individual nursery will also have its own risk assessment. We expect that through this process there'll be lots of learning. We've never done this before, so we fully expect that on a week-by-week basis we're going to review each of the settings. The feedback comes back from our managers to understand whether we need to further adapt, change, amend our policies and procedures that we've set in place through COVID-19. You heard me briefly talk about safer playgroups earlier on. This principle is around limiting transmission, and it's really important that we try and help children and help staff teams to stay in close working groups whilst not losing the experience of that social interaction. And we would appreciate the support from our parents as well, trying to help explain to their children that this isn't about not being able to see their friends, it's just about keeping that social distance element. For parents and anybody visiting the nurseries, we will be asking you to only enter the nursery singularly. We will be bringing the children to you at collection and taking them from you at drop-off. And we've also, in the majority of our nurseries, hopefully all by the time we open, have marked out the social distancing markings. Everyone will be familiar that from going shopping and various other experiences. We need to keep people safe by asking you please to adhere to those markings. On top of that, it's about hygiene, so use of antibacterial hand wash, soaps or gels before things are touched, or once they're touched, we'll hopefully have materials and clean materials to wipe them again. There's 101 things that we're going to try and do, and it's not right for me to try and go through them all on this particular video, but what I will say is that if you as parents and if you as staff, members and employees have any suggestions, would like to feedback to us, give us ideas on how we might be able to improve what we've already put in place, please do share those with your nursery managers. And I think the most important thing is, please everyone be patient with each other. This is going to be a really testing time for us, and we're hoping that we can try and operate our nurseries to the greatest level of capacity and efficiently and safely. It may well be initially some of you don't get the space that you need, but we'll be working very, very hard to make sure that we can offer that in the weeks and the months to come. Meanwhile, the priority will be for preschoolers who will be transitioning to school, essential key workers and then non-essential key workers. So please bear with us and please be patient. And other than that, it only leaves me to say welcome back to Bertram. Thank you very, very much for taking the time to listen to this video, and I'm looking forward to seeing our staff teams and our families and seeing some life back into Bertram nurseries. Take care everyone, and thank you very much.